Slime Ball is hilarious.
Welcome everyone to another edition of PonyFans Live. PonyFans Live is brought to you by Lakewood's First and 10, located at the northeast corner of Mockingbird and Abrams in Dallas, and recently named by D Magazine as the best sports bar in Dallas. Also brought to you by Gameday Cloth. Win or lose, love your clothes. Visit their store at the corner of Legacy and the Tollway in Plano, and check out GamedayCloth.com for the finest SMU gear anywhere. And also by PonyFans.com, the oldest, largest, and fastest growing website dedicated to the SMU Mustangs and Pony fans everywhere. With that out of the way, please help me welcome our guests. Our first guest leads the SMU defense with 4 interceptions, including 3 in the last 2 weeks, and is 6th on the team with 52 tackles. 2 weeks ago, he picked off a pair of passes against Marshall to help SMU become bowl eligible and was named Conference USA's Defensive Player of the Week. This past week, he sealed the Mustangs' victory over East Carolina with an interception in overtime. Junior cornerback Richard Crawford. Our second guest is one of the anchors of the offensive line that has led the way for an offense that has scored almost 30 points a game. You have Zach Line running for nearly 1,300 yards, which is the 3rd best season in school history at a school with some really good running backs. You've got Kyle Padron passing for more than 3,300 yards. Preseason all-conference selection left tackle Kelvin Beachum Jr. But before we get to Beach, we're going to start with Richard. And going back a little bit, you played at Saddleback College.
Yes, sir.
In Mission Viejo, California. Not exactly the heart of SMU's traditional recruiting territory. How did you find SMU, or how did they find you?
My coach, Coach Mack, he knows Coach Morrison very personally. I guess they surfed together, and he called and told him he had a pretty good defensive player, and Coach Morrison watched my film and sent it to Coach Odom, and then that's how I got here.
He surfs with Coach Morrison?
Yes, sir. Coach Mack is a...
Everyone knows Coach Reinbold surfs. I can't really picture Coach Morrison up on a surfboard.
I don't think he still surfs, but I know once upon a time he did surf, and that's my coach is a surf teacher, so that's what he does at Saddleback.
All right. So your coach gets in touch with Coach Morrison and Coach Odom, and they come out, they're watching you, they're talking to your coaches. What's the perception in California of SMU? Because there's more of you now. There's you, there's Sterling Moore, there's Ben Gottschalk, there's allegedly a couple more on the way next year. What's the perception of SMU among California players?
At first, I was just like, I knew who SMU was because I'm a big football fan, but like, I was like, SMU, like, oh, they had a pretty good season. So I was like, oh, they're on the rise. You know, I was like, that's a good destination, coach. And he was like, okay. He called for me. They were interested, and then I ran from there, and then talked to Coach Odom, came on my visit, and Coach Jones wanted me to come here, and I made it final and said I would.
You're a West Coast guy. You're playing at Saddleback. You grew up in San Diego, and you did have a couple offers on the West Coast. You had Portland State. You had University of San Diego. When SMU comes in with its offer, was that a hard sell for your family, saying I want to go all the way to Texas?
No, she really wanted me to go there because they were like the first Division 1A school to really come and offer. I mean, I had like probably half the Pac-10 schools looking at me saying they were going to offer. I actually had a verbal offer from Washington, but they were the first school that came, offered me, and said they really wanted me there. My mom was just like, go with Coach Jones. And then my dad was like, he's a legend. You need to go learn what he has to teach you. So that's why I came here.
All right, a lot of guys talk about when they come from high school to college, the difference in the size and the speed and the athleticism, making that jump to college. You had the step in between going to Saddleback. How much of a difference was there going from Saddleback to Division I?
The athletes are the same, but the coaching is different, and I learned that at the Texas Tech game the hard way, obviously. Just the way how players are coached are way different. Like they're probably better athletes at the JUCO level, but they're not going to make it because of their grades. But the coaching is everything at any level, and the coaching here is so much different in the route running, and that's what really hurt me is I wasn't really sound in my technique. I mean, I was only here for a month, but that's not a good enough excuse. I should spend more time on my technique instead of just relying on my athletic ability, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, you get out here, you get a starting job during training camp or preseason camp. and you really got kicked in the deep end because your first game is against Texas Tech. Yes, they had a new coach come in, but these are guys who throw the ball all over the place. And their quarterback, Taylor Potts, put it up 53 times, threw for almost 360 yards, 4 touchdowns. And they did complete some passes on you, some on Sterling. I mean, they completed passes all over the place. What did that do as far as your confidence and how much you thought you'd be able to play at this level to start out against a team with that kind of an offensive attack?
My confidence went from all the way up here down here. I was just like, why is this happening to me? And it wasn't like the reason why it was more frustrating was because like he wasn't outrunning me. He wasn't more physical. He wasn't stronger than me. He was just, I mean, he was throwing some really good balls and he had outstanding hands. I mean, when he had his hands on the ball, he wasn't letting it go. I mean, Leon's a pretty good receiver. So, I mean, my confidence went down, but then I realized after a while, like, you know, Leon came up to me, talked to me after the game. He was just saying that him and Potts have been playing together since they were like in 8th grade, so that they knew each other inside and out. So, I mean, he said he was putting some perfect balls. You play pretty good defense, just keep your head up and have a good season. So that's what I did. I think I did pretty well in doing that.
So after that game's over, how did you sort of repair your confidence? I mean, were there a lot of sit-down sessions in Coach Odom's office, or was it teammates propping you up, or just your own natural confidence in your ability? How'd you get that back?
It was kind of my own natural confidence in my ability, my family, and Coach Odom just talked to me one time and was just like, you just have to have better technique. Coach Mason was just showing me the 2 little 1-yard touchdowns I gave up. He was like, to be honest with you, you couldn't do any more than you did besides the second one. Maybe you could have knocked the ball out if he didn't have such a strong grip on the ball. But he said you play good defense on it. He said just get better at getting the ball out. And I've been doing that. I mean, it's been rough doing it, but like I think I'm becoming a better player, so I'm thankful for that.
You mentioned Coach Mason, and you've got 2 very different coaches. Your secondary coach, Derek Odom, and your defensive coordinator, Tom Mason. When they're meeting fans or when they're doing interviews, they seem like very, very different personalities. What are they like as teachers in practice? How are they different on a daily basis than when you deal with them?
They're actually really similar when they come to coaching because they're very funny people. Like Coach Odom was making jokes. Like when I do give up catch, Coach Odom makes a joke about it. Coach Mason will make a joke about it. Like every week he'll come up to me and be like, "Oh, this receiver said he's gonna do this to you. Are you scared?" And like, I mean, that's just how they are. But they do a good job of coaching me, staying square in my back pedal and all my technique things. So I'm thankful for them for that.
All right, you're the other starting corner across from you, Sterling Moore, has been out twice this year with injuries. When he's out, what's the biggest thing that your defense misses? And then, therefore, what's the biggest thing you got back when he returned to the lineup a couple weeks ago?
We changed our personality. We really did. We went to more of a kind of role safety type help because Sterling wasn't there, and like I'm not that type of player because I kind of like mess with my confidence a little bit because like, I'm not that type of player. I want him man to man most of the time, and we just changed our personality. And then when Sterling came back, it's just like I know where the ball's going. It's going to my side. It's not going to Sterling's side. So like I'm more prepared when Sterling's in the games. That's the biggest difference.
Against Marshall, you had 2 interceptions. Your player of the week. But talking to you after that game, the first thing you brought up was Sterling and how much he had helped you. What kind of advice did he give you, or how has he been so helpful to you since you've been here?
He just told me to be more aggressive, jump more routes, and because I really was worried about the double move, and he said if you get double moved, you just gotta use your speed. I mean, he's like you're fast, like so. I mean, it's not like you're gonna get outran or anything. So he was just like use your speed. Have more confidence in the routes because you know most of the routes are going to come at you. He just said, and stay in your back pedal as long as you can, and you'll be fine. And that's what he told me, and that's what I did, and I think that's why I was successful that day.
Against East Carolina, you go into overtime, your offense scores first, and then you end up making the play that sealed the Western Division Championship for SMU. When you made that pick, did that sink in right away? I mean, you're jumping up and down, you're running around with your teammates, but did that dawn on you just what you had just done?
No, it really didn't. All I was just thinking about, I picked the ball. I want interception yards because I have like 4 interceptions for like 3 yards. That's all was going through my head. Then when I got tackled, then it like really dawned on me, like we're going to the championship game. And ECU's fans were pretty rough too, so like they weren't really happy about us winning the game. So
Can you blame them?
yeah, I couldn't blame them either.
Because they had bowl eligibility on the line too, I think.
I think they were bowl eligible, but they had a chance to go to conference championship if UCF would have lost in some way, some scenario. They had a way to get in. Not sure, but.
All right, not only are you starting cornerback, but you also took over the punt return duty halfway through the season or so. And to the casual fan, it might appear that anyone who can run can return punts. Obviously, that's not true, or you'd have every team finding the fastest guy on the roster and throwing him back there. Beyond just speed, what is it that makes you an effective punt returner?
Catching the ball, making good decisions when I have the ball, and making the good decisions to catch the ball, fair catching. That's what makes any good punt returner a good punt returner, that they can catch the ball. I guess we did have problems with people catching the ball, but they have been working in practice with it. But I feel more comfortable back there than I think the other guys did, so that's why they put me back there. So.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by left tackle Kelvin Beachum Jr. This is PonyFans Live.